Welcome to the Birth Abroad podcast. My name is Megan Jennings, and I'm honored to host mothers who have come here to share their overseas childbirth stories. From fertility journeys to postpartum and beyond, this podcast is meant to hold space for women all over the world to share their unique experiences with the challenge of becoming a mother away from one's home country. Let's get into today's episode. Well, hey everyone, and welcome back to the show. Today I'm going to be interviewing Sarah Elena, who is a Russian American who is living in Costa Rica. And this is a unique episode in comparison to my other ones in that the actual pregnancy birth segment is rather short. You could probably hear the whole thing in the first 30 minutes of this episode. But then we sort of trail off into a couple other conversations that I found to be very interesting, and perhaps you would as well. Sarah talks about her adoption from Russia and then going back actually as an 18-year-old and finding and meeting her adoptive parents. And she talks a little bit about this personal journey she went through and some healing when it comes to topics such as abandonment and how that plays into how, I guess, her relationship with her partner, her child's father. And we talk about some other things, visa questions, and also some random subjects such as finding work as an expat abroad, especially in Costa Rica. So we cover quite a few topics, but I found it to be very interesting. So I am going to give that content to you guys as well, in case you find it interesting as well. But without giving any more else away, I'm going to let Sarah take it away from here. Hey, Sarah, welcome to the Birth Abroad podcast. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to sit down and share your story with us.
Oh, yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
So before we get started, would you like to tell the listeners just a little bit about yourself, like where you come from, where you currently live, who's in your family, that kind of thing?
Sure. So I was born in Russia, and then I was adopted to the United States, and I grew up in Virginia. And let's see, right now I'm in Costa Rica, so it's kind of a long jump from where I began in life. And so I graduated college, and I worked for a year, and I kind of always knew that I wanted to travel and go do something outside of the country and possibly live outside of the country. So I had some friends who had a retreat center down here. Oh, and I moved here over 4 years ago. So it was September of 2015 is when I moved.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So it was over 4 years ago. It was in a January before that I was like, okay, I think I want to go somewhere else. I just wasn't fitting in the whole 9 to 5. I was like, there's got to be more to life. So I was like, I'm just going to go for it. So by June, I decided on going to Costa Rica. And I went knowing I was just moving. So I'd never been here before. I guess the most south I'd ever been was Florida. But I'm not a picky person. I was like, oh, I think it'll be fine. I'm just going to go for it. And I just, let the lease go up on my apartment. Didn't have a car anymore. I just didn't sell. Most of my stuff is in my parents' basement at this point. But so yeah, I came here and just landed and figured it out. And it was kind of, when I look back on it, a very crazy idea.
Yeah, what did your mom say about it?
My parents were poor things.
I think all of our parents feel that way, I think.
Right. I'm sorry guys. I've always been a little bit more unconventional. I went to college and I actually got my degree in social work and I worked as a social worker. But I've always had a more adventurous, I think they weren't too surprised. They know I kind of come up with different ideas and different things that I want to do. And I'm not impulsive, but if I have an impulse that I really want to do something, they know I'm going to go for it. Mm-hmm. So they've been very patient through this process. Of course, I know they're secretly wishing that I'll move home. But right now, I don't think that's going to be happening anytime in the near future.
Mm.
But
they have an awesome tropical destination to come visit you at least.
Oh, exactly. So yeah, they've been down here multiple times now, and they understand why I enjoy it here. Oh. So So after being here for a year, I got pregnant, and just out of another one of those intuitive impulses, was like, let's do it. Like, why not? Like, wow, let's move to another country. Okay. I mean, I thought about having kids. I thought I was going to be one of those people having kids in my like later 30s, once I'm all is said and done with everything else I wanted to do. So it was a surprise, and I was like, you know what? Let's just go for it. And her dad is Costa Rican, and so
What
yeah,
was it like when you found out that you were pregnant? Did you have an inkling?
um my first sign was that I wasn't sleep like I was having a hard time falling asleep at night. I don't know if anyone else experienced that. It was like I don't know how to explain it. Like it was like I was like I didn't really drink coffee at the time. Obviously now from being a mom, I'm a coffee drinker.
Right?
It was kind of like I couldn't sleep well, and I know if something's I love sleep. So if something's up with my sleep, then I know something's off. And so yeah, I just had a feeling, and I went and bought a pregnancy test. Or actually no, I ordered one. It came to me on motorcycle. Like in Costa Rica, you can like call somewhere and they'll deliver it. And I took it and it was positive, and I was like, "Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness." And oh, when I was planned to go back to the United States, I think like 3 days after I'd found out, like so I already had this trip planned back to so I'd been in Costa Rica for a year, and and I'd gone back for Christmas. So it was a year later. It was going to be my second visit back to the States since moving. And I was like, oh gosh, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'd been with her dad for a few months. So I really was just like, I don't, like, this is insane. Like, it was a very crazy feeling.
Was it scary at all, just given the fact that you were not in your home environment and probably not necessarily like planning on having kids just yet in a foreign country?
Yeah, I think it was super scary. I mean, I was just like shocked. I was like, oh my God, like I'm pregnant. Like there's something growing in there. Like, it's like I hadn't really given like having, I mean, I knew like, I knew in the future, I'd always said like, yes, I would love to have my own kids one day. Not because let's see how old, I guess I was 24 when I got pregnant. So, I mean, like not incredibly young on the worldly scale, but for me, definitely younger than what I had imagined. So yeah, it was pretty scary, but I don't feel like I felt an impulse of like, oh my God, I'm pregnant. I'm in a foreign country. I need to go home. Like,
Mm-hmm.
once I like had like gotten used to the idea of being pregnant and like really like took ownership of that and was like, okay, like I'm gonna do this. I wanted to stay in Costa Rica. So that's like where my mind was. It was never like, oh, I want to go back to the States. It was like, how can I need to stay here?
Do they have Zika down there?
Oh, I heard that a lot during my pregnancy.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you're totally fine. It's just funny. Yeah, they did, I guess. I don't know if they still have it. So when I was pregnant, that was so many people's concerns. Oh, well, what about Zika? But no one down here was even really concerned about it. Like I don't even think I saw it on the news. Like I guess there was some reported cases, but I never really worried about it. I mean, I didn't have Zika, and I just took my like precautions that I was supposed to be taking, and but it wasn't something that concerned me to the point where I felt like I should leave for my own safety.
Right, right.
So yeah, that was a hot topic. That was a hot topic during my pregnancy. That's when all that was coming out, and people were even thinking about changing their trips and not coming due to it. But no,
Yeah,
I
there
took.
was quite a bit of hysteria about it because I got pregnant around the same time with my daughter, and there were even like talks about Zika infested or Zika species of mosquito in Los Angeles, which is where I was living. And
Mm,
I was like just in the process of moving to Sweden, and I was talking to the migration board, like, you guys have to expedite my residence permit because Zika's coming here. Like, even I caught onto the hysteria.
yeah, like people weren't really hysterical down here. Maybe that kind of minimized things for me, but I don't know, Costa Rica, for me, it's been like a little bubble. It's like I go back to the United States and I'm like, oh, what are all these new things? Like a
Mm.
chip reader? This is cool. Like maybe you've experienced it. I mean, because it's a little bit more underdeveloped here, but it's not, you still have all your conveniences. When I go back to the United States, I start handing my debit card to the cashier constantly, and they look at me like, what are you doing? Like, like slide your card or do something with it, lady. Just like, you know. But no, I don't know. I also I'm a pretty I don't know. It's like spiritual person. I guess I just kind of trusted and that I felt I was supposed to be in Costa Rica and that what was going to come of that was going to be good. So I didn't really concern too much with it.
So what was your first steps, I guess, in getting yourself into the system? I don't know anything about the like antenatal or medical systems down there.
Oh, that was fun. So when I first found out I was pregnant, I took the pregnancy test and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go get a blood test done just to make sure. I'm like, I have to make sure. So I went to go get the blood test done. It said I was pregnant. I'm like, well, let's go be sure. So I was like, let me schedule an ultrasound, ultrasound, and like see how far along it is. So I went to like a private doctor for the ultrasound. It was probably like $80. And then so Costa Rica, if you're pregnant in Costa Rica, it doesn't matter where you're from, like you have free health care.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, it doesn't matter like any country. If you're a pregnant person in Costa Rica, all your medical care is like free. You can go to any public hospital or medical place and receive, health care. So here, like people go to the hospital for everything, well, at least where I was living. Like most people, if I guess where I was, if you need something, you go to the hospital. So we went there and it was like, go to this window, wait in this line. No, go over here. Now go over there. Now go over there and sit for 30 minutes. Like, it was a tiring day. Wandering around here, I'm like, like, just do something. But yeah, so I guess I got signed into their system. They gave me, it's all very informal. It was kind of like a handwritten card, like from the hospital with some number on it, and my information, and then that was it. And then I went to a few more appointments at that hospital again. I don't ever think I even got an ultrasound there. And then towards the end of my pregnancy, we had moved outside of San Jose. So I lived by the beach. And, and so I wanted to go to like a bigger private hospital to actually have my kid. Because in the public ones, I think they're nice, but it's shared. It's like after you have your kid, you go into like a shared, like a maternity ward, I guess, with other women. I just wanted my privacy. And so we decided to do a private hospital. So I moved up near the city and there was like a teeny neighborhood doctor office I went to some like every once in a while. And I like, okay, I guess this is my doctor now. And I'm like at the end of my pregnancy, just like wobbling around, just hobbling down the street, this neighborhood. And I don't even remember my doctor's name. And then, yeah, and then when I went to the hospital to have my kid, they're like, "Who's your doctor?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know, like just some lady at this place." And I was like, "I thought you guys were doctors. That's why I came here to have my baby." So I did this a really weird way. Like I don't know. I kind of just winged it, like winged the whole pregnancy. I did some doctors. Oh, actually, I got some ultrasounds when I was in the States. That was fun. But I would say like I didn't go as regularly.
Did you do any of like the standard tests, like the glucose test or I don't know, like the group B strep test or things that they test for in other countries or did they
Yeah.
just take a super casual approach to everything there?
No, they did do that. So yes, so I did that. Yeah, I guess that the glucose thing, you have to drink something like really,
Mhm.
you have to wait. Yes, I did that. So I must have done that when I was up in near San Jose. I remember doing that. And yes, so then I just had to sit there for a while. It was, oh man, lots of sitting here in Costa Rica. Even if you're not pregnant, you're just like waiting around things move slower here, so that's okay. But yeah, I did that. The strep, I think I had that. So yes,
Aha, okay.
think so.
I know that I think in the States they do a swab. I'm not like, don't quote me on that, but here in Sweden, they just did a urine test. So I don't know. Maybe it was just something they snuck by you, or just was a urine test toward the end. I don't know.
And everything was in Spanish, and I'm pretty fluent. I'm very fluent now. It's not perfect, but fluent for sure. So, it was kind of like going to these appointments and not fully understanding what's going on, but just like being like, thumbs up. Everything looks good. Okay, everything's good. Alrighty. See you at
How
the
was
next
how was
show.
their command of the English language?
Um, they didn't speak English, so I mean, at least where I was, I was going to where the local, for yeah. So when I did all these appointments for all my prenatal care, I was just going to like the Costa Rican hospital or these Costa Rican doctors' offices where probably not very many gringo people come in there, expats. They don't really come in there for anything because I was with a Costa Rican. So there was really no English. And I kind of at that time I was relying on like my kid's father to kind of help translate a bit, but then he wasn't doing a really good job. So, but no, they were pretty, like, they do take prenatal care here seriously. Costa Ricans love pregnant people and they love kids. Like, culturally, they just love kids so much. So, it was, I think they did do things very, like, in a good, organized, standard way. I guess as standard as you can be for here. And yeah, like I had to get that shot, the tetanus they made me do that too, but it was like I think like months before my delivery, and I'm not sure when I was supposed to have that, so I don't know if they're doing it too early here, and then I got sick from the vaccine, and it was just, but
Oh wait, what was that like? Was it just like a bad flu or?
oh yeah, yes, and it was like the day after, and I like was just like bed bound for like 2 days. It was not fun. So,
Oh.
you're pregnant, second trimester, just like not feeling good. So no, that was not fun. But they like it was mandatory. I mean, I couldn't refuse it. They were like, no, you have to have this done. I was like, okay.
What is the model of care out there? Is it like, are you delivered by a OB or are they midwives?
Um, let's see. Like I'm saying, I don't know if I'm the best Costa Rican example. Like it was, I literally went to the hospital and like told them I called an Uber at like 2:30 in the morning because my water had broken.
Aha.
So, and then I was like, well, I'm just going to Uber to the hospital. So I Ubered to the hospital, told them like I was ready to have my baby. Like I'd gone and like registered there before, I guess. They asked me who my doctor was. I said, I don't know. I thought you guys had them. So, and then they sent a doctor and like they had to call a doctor to come. And I ended up having a C-section. So,
So do you want to go back though and just start with the whole birth story? When did you have any signs of labor before your water broke?
I think I got that burst of energy. Like I wanted to clean and organize stuff. But I was having Braxton Hicks, so I guess I was probably having contractions the night before, and I just thought they were just like Braxton Hicks ones. And let's see, she came like maybe 2 weeks before her due date, so I mean it wasn't like too early, but I knew I could have still had time. And I remember like the 2 days before that I went, I don't know, I like cleaned the whole apartment and I went shopping and I was getting all this stuff comfortable. So maybe some like intuitive part of me knew that it was going to be time. And maybe that night I had some Braxton Hicks, but I didn't think, and I was just sleeping. Oh, I got up to go to the bathroom at 1 in the morning. And then at 1:30, I'm in bed asleep and I just like my water broke and it was wow, it was not a slow, you read online when when you're pregnant, you're like researching everything, like what happens when my water breaks.
Uh-huh.
And some people may say, well, sometimes it's a slow trickle or sometimes it's this. No, it was like the floodgates had opened and yes, it was. So I was like, okay, this is happening. But then I also read on the internet that even when your water breaks, you may not be ready. So I was like, I probably have time to clean a bit more. So I'm like cleaning, took a shower. It's like 2 in the morning at that point. I think I even like put on a little bit of makeup. My kid's father was like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, I want to look nice for the baby." And I'm not, I don't like wear a whole lot of makeup. I was like, I just want to look pretty, like go to the hospital looking fresh to have this baby. And then we called the Uber. But I didn't, I mean, I don't think I had that many signs. I think I probably knew it was sometime soon.
What time was it that you went into the hospital? Do you remember?
I think I probably got there at like 3 something. And, we had to wait. again, as always. So I'm like waiting to do something, getting checked in, and got to a room, and then I could really like start to feel I was having like contractions. They put a belt thing around me, and I was very just really uncomfortable. It was like, and then did a they checked to see how much amniotic fluid I had, and they realized like I guess there like was barely any left in there. So I think that's why like my water. I mean, I don't know what to expect. I don't have anything else to compare this to, but it did feel like everything had come out of there, like except for the baby.
Oh,
Um,
crazy.
like it, like I like yeah, I had to change the adult diapers like 2 times just before we even left. I mean, it was insane. But yeah, and then the doctor had decided that, it'd be better to have a C-section, and she was born at like 7 in the morning. So it was pretty like, got there at 3 and she was out by 7.
Was there any discussion with you about options before they went right into the C-section, or were you even just okay with going right into it?
No, there wasn't really a discussion about options. And I am aware, I think in Costa Rica, they have been more keen to just like go that route. So sometimes I've wondered, like, could I have just like gone through like a vaginal birth or labor? But this is just the way it worked out, and she came out healthy and happy, and I think I'm just thankful for that. And I'm not like gonna get too hung up on I could have done it a different way. It's just like, but no, there really wasn't much of a discussion, and the doctor didn't speak English. Um, but he was very nice. I mean, at that point, I was just like, I don't know, like whatever you say, like. But I know. Wow, I had a friend here. She had her baby like up in the jungle because she was going to do a home birth, so the guy hadn't even come and set up the bathtub yet. I think he was going to come like the next day to get the bathtub ready. But but there was this huge storm. She went into labor. 2 of her friends were up there having dinner with her, and like she birthed the baby like an hour later up there, like in the middle of a storm with the power being out and everything. So I mean, like a lot of people do home births here, like expats who move down. That's an option. Um, there are doulas, so I know there is an availability of these kind of experiences for people who want that. There are hospitals in San Jose or in another town with doctors that would speak English. Um, so I think it is like people can have a nice, good, wide variety of experiences. So I think if someone does have a vision of how they want their birth to go or how they would like for it to, I think they can make that happen here because there is support and there are people who offer those services.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Was your husband allowed to join you for the C-section in the room, or did they make him wait? Oh, I called him your husband. I meant your partner. Sorry.
Yeah, so we actually separated like 3 weeks after she was born. But yeah, so he was there, and yeah, he was like right there. Gosh, I don't remember a whole lot. I mean, I do. I mean, but it was just very numbed. Didn't feel anything. Just like slight tugging. Actually, I guess a doctor or someone had taken a video. Like I have a video of her being born.
No kidding. Huh.
Well, it's crazy. And then somehow her dad got a hold of that video, like, and sent it to me like half a year later. I'm like, how did you even like? He's like the most disorganized person ever. So I'm like, dang, how did this even like what? So,
That's actually really
um,
awesome, though, because I feel like in most, at least like I don't want to say first world. I feel like in most birth stories, let's just say that I've heard where there's been a cesarean section, they don't allow video at all. Like you can take stills, but I have heard of very few birth stories where they were allowed to take video. So that's awesome that it was done for you.
yeah, there's video, there's pictures. I mean, I don't know who was taking them, but somebody took a lot of nice pictures. So, and a lot of nice video. So it was pretty cool. And
What What was their protocol directly after the birth? Did they just take the baby off to a separate room, or how did they like bring you two together?
well, so right after the birth, they brought her like up to my head, and I was able to see, they able to see her, and they cleaned her off a bit and brought her over a bit, and then I had to go to a separate room for like an hour, just like waiting, just like I guess I had to be under observation.
Okay.
So that was like the longest hour of my life. Like I had just had this baby. So that I'm like not appreciative of that process for sure. Because, I guess the image I had in my head was like, my child coming out, me getting to like have her on my chest, having the skin to skin contact. Um, but yeah, so that was the longest hour of my life. But she was with her dad during that
Mhm.
time. And I remember like sitting there like trying to wiggle my toes and be like, look, I'm ready. Like, let me go. like I can move. See, like hoping they're gonna like let me go early. Didn't have didn't even know what time it was or when they were gonna let me. Yeah, so they told me it would be an hour, but there was no clock. I didn't know like when an hour was gonna be.
Oh, that could be
So
maddening, huh?
yes, that was hard. I don't think that's nice.
Yeah.
That's not. Yeah, that wasn't nice.
What is postpartum there like in general? I don't know if Costa Rica does this, but I have heard of certain cultures having these like 40-day lions where you just stay at home for 40 days and relatives come and take care of you. Is that something that they do down there?
Hmm. I don't think they do anything of like 40 days. I think like when after the baby's born, they want to keep the baby home, away from being outside around a bunch of germs, things like that. But I don't think it's like that's too much of a culture. I'm sure like families just flooding to the house wanting to see the baby. I'm sure the whole family probably comes to the hospital. So yeah, I think culturally, I'm sure they're so careful with kids here. I mean, just from what I've seen as a culture, they really take the precautions they can, but I don't think it's like they don't keep them home for 40 days. Um, I'm, yeah, I think they come out.
How was your post C-section recovery?
Oh, that was rough.
What was it like? What
I was
happened?
thinking it would have been worse. I mean, it went as well. I mean, it just like really hurt. Like I don't know how else to explain it. That really hurts. Um, like I remember this day after, like trying to take a shower and something, and then like and something just hurt, and then I started like screaming, and then her dad's like trying to keep me standing up, and I'm like trying to sit down, and that was not that really like just yeah a lot of pain, but I think I recovered really well. Like as I think the recovery went as well as it could have for having like your abdomen like sliced completely open. It's pretty intense. I still have
Yeah.
a scar. I mean, I'm probably gonna have the scar forever. But no, it was. But then I had moved out of my apartment 3 weeks later. Like I had taken my newborn 3 weeks later and moved down back to. I moved like 4 hours away. I don't know how I did that, or I did it. But my parents had come to visit right after she was born. They came a week after and were here for 2 weeks. And they said they didn't stay in my home, but they were nearby. But the steps were hard. But even I Ubered a lot at that point because I didn't have a car. And all the Uber drivers were so helpful, helping me with the newborn, helping like the lady I Ubered back from the hospital. Like, go figure. And the Uber driver, I just had my C-section. She held my hand and walked me up the stairs. Like I felt very supported by like all these people I didn't even know. They're just so family oriented here, and they're just so, I don't know how to explain it. It's really nice. It's really lovely. But yeah.
Now, I'm assuming you have like a residence permit, obviously, to live there, right?
Well, yes and no. Yes, kind of. No.
Okay, let me take a step backward then. How did it cost anything to birth there, or is it expensive? Did you have to pay for anything?
Okay, so when I came here, so as a tourist, the way visas work is you get usually like a 90-day visa, a 90-day tourist visa, and then you have to exit the country every 3 months in order to renew your visa. So usually I would go down to like Panama, or I go back to the States 2 times a year. So usually one of those visits will fall around a time, then that like renews my visa. So because I had my kid here, I'm automatically able to get residency. I still need to go through the process. What's holding me up is I need an apostilled birth certificate, And since I was born in Russia, and then, I've been to the DMV in the United States, and they weren't able to give me one. So I'm going to figure that out the next time I go back because I do want to apply for my residency, but it's not like something that's going to expire. I can apply anytime. So yeah, I can get my residency here because my daughter was born here. So that's really helpful. But
And
before that,
she's, go ahead.
oh, sorry. I mean,
No,
but
no, no, you
before
go.
that, I still leave the country every 3 months, every 90 days.
Do you just have to exit and then come right back in, or do you have to exit and be out for a certain period of time?
Well, the rule is you're supposed to exit. I think you're supposed to be out for 72 hours, but
Oh,
everyone does here. I mean, this could change in the future. I just go down to Panama. I like leave Costa Rica. I enter Panama. I go shopping because everything's cheaper down there. And I'm only like 2 hours away from the border without traffic, so it's not too bad. um, so yeah, and then I just go shopping. I eat lunch, and then I leave Panama, and I come back into Costa Rica, and then I go home. And usually
that's
we
just
get
so
together.
informal. Uh,
Yeah, it's very, I mean, yeah. So, but you need to have documents with you. Like, you need to show that you have a plane ticket leaving Panama, show that you have one leaving Costa Rica within those 90 days. They ask you some questions. So, I know it depends who you get down there, too. Like, some people will just not even blink an eye. All right, come on in, or,
yeah.
or some others will be drilling you with questions and making sure it's all done by the procedure. But yeah, that's how that works. It's a little bit informal, but
So I have a question, because your situation is unique in that you were born in Russia. Do you have Russian citizenship because of that?
um, that's another thing I tried to figure out at one point, but I kind of gave up on it. Like, I remember years ago, because I went to Russia then when I was 18 and when I was 23, I actually met my family there. Like, I found them when I was 16, and then I went to,
No kidding. What was that
yeah.
like? Side story, but what was that like?
Um, okay, so yeah, so wow, yeah, that was an insane story. Long story short, we'll do an abridged version. So I started looking for them when I was 15, and I hit so many roadblocks. The internet wasn't what it was then. I mean, how old am I now? What year is it? 19? I don't know. 2000 something? Six?
I mean, if it's early 2000s, that pretty much says enough. I mean, the internet
Yeah,
wasn't
do something. Yeah,
what it is now.
2000
Yeah.
something. It wasn't what it was now. Google Maps was like these little lines. I had these adoption papers, and I was like I figured out I had my mom's name. Um, but long crazy story short, I was able to locate my grandmother, my biological mom, and a half sister, and I have a half sister who is 11 years younger than me. So yeah, when I was 18, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go visit them, and yeah, I just went there and I met them, and it was really interesting. And then I think I still had some of I think like I thought going there was gonna like heal my like wounds, like abandonment or just my own stuff around it. But I was still like struggling with it. So then over the years, I was only 18. I still had a lot of emotional maturity that I needed to work on, and so over those years, I really did start to like get a good handle on things. I started kind of healing those parts, and when I was 23, a few months before I moved to Costa Rica, I was like, oh, I need to go back and like have a nice conversation with my mom and tell her that everything's fine. Like that I just didn't want her to feel guilty, and I'd really felt like everything had worked out beautifully, and I was taken care of, universe, higher power, whatever you want to call it, God. I just
Did
felt very,
did she feel guilty? Was it emotional for her to see you? Did she see it coming?
oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was, see, culturally, it was pretty common for Russian kids to be adopted in the 90s. I think culturally to have a kid not be married was very shameful for the family. Whereas, well, when I compare that to Costa Rica, they're like, "Oh my God, what a blessing." Like every child here is a blessing, culturally. Like doesn't matter what the situation is. If you don't have any money, it's like, "Oh my God, it's a blessing." Um, but there it was just a little different. They were just culturally different over there. So and she was young, and or she was 19, and just wasn't ready at the time, and that's okay. And so yeah, but I think I'm sure. I mean, I can't even imagine. I guess I got to get more of an understanding of what she went through, like going through my own unplanned pregnancy, even though I was older. It was still probably some of the same feelings of like, I'm not ready for this. Am I going to be a good parent? Like, how am I going to provide for my child? And even still, I have the same thoughts today. Even I'm a single parent, so I've been a single parent since she was 3 weeks old. She's 2.5 now. So, and that's been fine. We're working our way through that, but still, you just do the best you can. So having my own kid gave me a good understanding, even more of an understanding of her, and yeah, I feel completely clean and clear about it, and I feel really good from a good space of it, and I just, yeah,
That
appreciative.
must have been a really neat, I don't know if neat is the right word, but a neat experience though to sort of think back to what your mom, your biological mom, might have gone through while you were going through it also, in a way.
Yeah, it's weird. I feel like things had to kind of come. I don't know. I think it had to come full circle. I think that also contributed to like a lot of my healing surrounding it was
Uh,
kind of going through, and also breaking like a cycle, or like if that was this way, it wasn't being cycled through again.
right.
So maybe I don't know. I'm a pretty spiritual person, and I think that this it wasn't like logically, no, it was not the right time. It was not the right logical time for me to have a child, but something deep in me wanted to have that child and have my daughter. And I think that that could have played a part in it, but I couldn't have imagined adoption probably just from what I went through. I mean, I'm so happy and glad that I was adopted, and my own personal beliefs, I feel like I came onto the earth like knowing the situation, and I chose that for myself. So I even take my own like responsibility for my adoption, if that makes sense. So like I think that was choice for me. I think when I came as a spirit to earth, I think I came and knew the situation. And then I also remember that with my own kid. I think that she chose me as her mom, just as I chose my own situation. So sometimes I try not to get hung up on certain things. I try to remember, like, she chose me as her mother, and her dad is her dad. He's not involved at the moment. He's not a bad person. He just has some substance abuse issues and just his own traumas that he's very unhealed from. And so, and I also remember that, like, she chose her father too. And I'm just gonna like respect and honor that, and know that like she'll be okay through that, just as like I've been okay through all my experiences.
Right. Oh, that's a beautiful perspective. I hope this isn't too personal, and if it is, I will edit it out.
I'm
But,
a super open book.
okay, good. Child support. Does your partner, is he required by the government to pay child support down there?
Oh yeah, that's a good topic. And yeah, I'm a very open person. So I'm always like this isn't a touchy subject for me. Like I've even done my own healing around this, like obviously, being adopted, like having that separation from our dad was like kind of hit that abandonment trigger. Almost like weren't wasn't I or we there's a little bit of like why weren't we good enough for someone to make changes, but I had to do my own healing through that and realize that like other people's things that they do aren't a reflection on me or anything. It's just unrelated. But so for child support, so down here you can put what's called a pension. Yeah, you can put them on child support, and if they don't pay, they'll go to jail. So I didn't do that. I chose not to, because like I said, I don't know. I don't think he's a bad person. I just think he has a lot of his own like trauma and wounds that he just hasn't been equipped to deal with, and I don't know if he ever will be. So I don't want to. It's okay, it was my decision to have my child or to have my daughter. And one day, if he can be like healthy, and I know he wants a relationship with her one day, and if that can happen, then I will be fully supportive of them both and like developing that if it's going to be something that's positive and stable for her. But but I don't see any benefit for me putting him in jail for not helping. So for me, it just wasn't worth the energy.
Mm.
It's on his conscience, not mine.
Are you able to work down there without having like sorted the paperwork yet?
Oh yeah, so I've worked remotely, like almost since, I mean,
Aha.
pretty much, yeah, this entire time. So I work remotely from my computer. I started picking up clients as a virtual assistant. Um, well, when I first moved here, I started teaching English to Chinese people online out of like
That's actually a
necessity.
very popular thing to do. I hear about people doing that
Yes.
all the time in my expat circles.
Yes. So that's pretty popular. I did that for a few months. No, I don't know, a little bit. Then I worked
Is-
for a nature adventure therapy company, and that was an American run company. I legally was allowed to work there because they needed like some. I had the social work background. They did need like some specialized staff who spoke English, and so that was a really good experience. And after that, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get out of the middle of the jungle, and I need to like go to civilization. I was like sleeping on the jungle floor every night. It was beautiful and amazing, but I was like, okay, I need to be in civilization again. So then I was like, okay, what am I going to do? So I just was like, I'm just going to work online. My friend does it. I'm just going to work online. So I had gotten my like first virtual assistant client through word of mouth. It was actually, he's in Costa Rica. I still work with him. And I've had multiple clients over the years. And now I work for a tax company. They do expat taxes, but they're based in the United States. But actually, everyone who works for the company is in another country. Like we're all Americans who just live abroad. And then I have two clients who are real estate agents. So I put up their, like, just the houses up on their website. But then I started some of my own businesses here. So I have some horses. So I've been teaching lessons to kids and adults. And then I also do equine assisted coaching. It's kind of like equine. It's like mindfulness horse connection. So how like connecting with the horse and being mindful. Horses are very intuitive,
Yeah,
and
I've
they're
heard that they're used a lot in therapy settings too.
yes,
Yeah.
yep. So I work with horses and people together, and then from the YouTube channel that we connected through.
Right, that's how we know each other. I forgot.
Yes. So through the YouTube channel, um, I have people messaging me all the time asking about how they can move to Costa Rica, and I was like realizing was like, wow, I'm spending a lot of time answering these people's questions. And I put a lot of information about moving here, but some people need like some specialized answers for their exact situation, for their budget, for what their own individual concerns are. So I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna have to start charging for this because it is taking my time. So I've actually had a few people, and I have like just a flat rate. They can like have a phone call with me. I record it, and then they can talk to me via email and WhatsApp as continued support for as long as they want. It's $70, and then if I don't already know the answer off the top of my head, I will find it out for them. So I just try to give people like a real approach because I didn't come down here with money or an investment or anything. I just like kind of landed here and figured it out. And having a kid, and I really immersed myself in the culture. I did communicate a lot with Costa Rican people, and I learned Spanish, and um, yeah, I really like immersed myself in here, and I feel like a part of this community and a part of the area.
You have such an interesting life. You've
Thank
been
you.
all over the place and you just kind of do it. You get it done.
I know, it's so weird. I'm like, what? It's like you ever look back? I don't know. I feel like at the end of my lifetime, I'm just gonna be like, "Woo, that was a crazy one." Like, what was I
Yeah, you're
doing?
you're like one of those people that, you listen to them tell the story and you just sit there silently and think, "Oh, what's going to happen next?" Like
Don't know, and that's the thing. I
choose your
don't.
own adventure. Which path are we going to go down now?
I know it's so exciting because like the horse stuff is starting to. That's what I love. Like that's my passion. I love talking about Costa Rica. I love horses. I love the social work. Working with people, being in those roles, just to even have those conversations with them, just to like reflect back to them, just help people work through stuff. So all those ideas were on paper for months, and they've started to like actually manifest into happening. Like they're happening right now. It's insane. I'm like still like, oh my God, this is actually happening right now.
So, down the road, is this home for you? Are you going to be staying there? Do you have any plans on moving to another country or back home at some point?
Well, yeah, people ask me that sometimes, and I always just say like I'm gonna stay here for as long as it feels good and as long as I'm enjoying it. I mean, it doesn't mean like I'm not going to have my hard days. I'm not going to be like, oh, not feeling it today. I think I should move back, you know?
Mm.
I just mean it as like, as long as it's flowing and it doesn't feel like it's upstream and I'm struggling, you know, like I'm not going to stay somewhere if I'm not enjoying it anymore. Like if one day it feels like it's not a right fit, I'm open to saying, okay, maybe it's time for a change. But for now, I really could foresee myself here for a very long term, and this really having this as like home.
Yeah.
Trusting. It's a lot of trusting. It's not like a casual like I don't care what happens in the future. It's like I'm really just putting a lot of trust into like keep leading with the decisions from my heart and not from like a place of fear.
So, on that note, any advice that you might have for someone in your position that you maybe wish you had known before you got into it, or something you might have done differently, or what would you tell to someone in your shoes?
Yeah. Yeah, I think my advice always is just if when you're going through these things, just yeah, checking in with yourself and seeing where those feelings and those decisions are coming from. Like I'm pretty big on mindset stuff, so it's like I try to analyze, okay, am I making this decision or are these thoughts or these emotions coming out of fear or are these coming from my authentic self where I know that things are well, that where I know that I land on my feet. So I would just suggest that someone spends the time, like meditate, whatever, go for a walk, whatever gets you in a good space where you feel like you're leading from your heart. If you can get connected to that area, then just try to feel out like what your inner being's telling you about it. You know, sometimes we have this confusion. You know, it can be confusing. I did go through the stage of, oh my God, I need to go back to the States. Didn't do it, but it was the I had the I should be doing this, or there was a lot of confusion, and it was just having to like really check in with myself. Even still, you know, I have to like with all the everything that I'm doing, just really check in there and go, okay, like where do I want to lead? Yeah, where do I want to lead my life from? From my heart, or from fear, or from judgment of others, or from what other people think I should do, or what I think I should do from my programming, you know, just from all of our stuff that we've been passed down, our ideas. Like, yeah, I would just suggest someone to have the courage to follow what's in your heart and like your real true desires because things when you just and trust that things will align and things will line up because they do. And I've just been experimenting with that so much over the last few years. Because well, after my pregnancy, I don't think I had postpartum, but I was going through so much with her dad. It was so much stress. I was feeling miserable. I wasn't feeling good, and I was like, dude, I was like, I need to enjoy my kid. Like I need to enjoy my baby. So I need to enjoy my life. So I was just kind of like, no, I'm going to enjoy my life now. So I like really made some big mindset shifts and wow, I got off on a really big tangent. Sorry.
No, but I love it because it's great advice, you know, and you walk the walk for sure. So,
Yeah. So yeah, I want to say like it's I did go through that. It wasn't always like, okay, like this they just had the baby and it's fine. We're just going to figure it out. Like no, I've been through my like holy crap, I'm freaking out moments to like lonely, like breastfeeding in the middle of the night, you know, every 2 hours alone, like no family, you know, I went, gosh, like I went through those times. They were hard, but um, just kept following my heart, and I just like kept following my happiness and tried to keep making like the best decisions I could for me and what I wanted to put my energy in and what I wanted to be surrounded by.
if anyone wanted to contact you with any kind of questions about anything, such as moving to Costa Rica, where could they reach you?
Okay, so they can reach me at, I have a website. It's called lasarahelena.com. So it's like, okay, yeah, I just thought La, like L-A,
Hmm.
Sarah, S-A-R-A-H. My Sarah has an H in it, and Elena, ELENA.com. And yeah, feel free. My email's on there. Um, like all three of the things I do are on there. I do life coaching, the Costa Rica, like kind of consulting for people who want to move here and the horseback riding experiences for anyone who does come here. And yeah, I'm anytime. Just I'm happy to talk to anybody. You know, I like to be supportive of others, and I'm always open to anyone reaching out and I have Instagram too, Instagram/La Sarah Elena too, but it's with underscores under the La Sarah and Elena.
Perfect. And I'll put links to all that in the show notes so that it's easily accessible too.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. I'm always happy for people to get in contact.
Well, thanks so much again, Sarah, for jumping on and sharing your story with us. I know we covered a myriad of topics, and I am sure that they will be interesting and helpful for our listeners to hear. And as I say at the end of each of my episodes, if you are a person who is living abroad and has a story you would like to share about fertility or pregnancy or birth or postpartum or all of the above, feel free to shoot me a message on Instagram at the Birth Abroad Podcast or by email at thebirthabroadpodcast@gmail.com. Otherwise, I will be bringing you guys a new episode next week. Thanks again. Bye-bye.